Does the perfect pattern exist? I mean, can you have more than one perfect pattern, like a perfect pattern for a hoodie or a perfect pattern for a quilt? Well, I think I found the perfect pattern for the little bag. I'm Sean from Sewing and Vacuum Warehouse in Houston, and today we're going to be sewing the Logi bag. This pattern popped up in my YouTube feed and I fell in love with it instantly. The pattern is designed by Nicole Barber over at OKSew, and she has many different ways to make this pattern. It is the perfect bag pattern to practice zippers, on curves. Both these ends are tucked into the boxed corners at the bottom. So when I first got this, I would try it in the snakeskin. I would try it in the cork. I would try it in the tweed. It works for all of them. And I didn't realize how many I was making until I had made about 20. And then I happened to look over to the pile where I would finish one and throw it over to, let's try something else, throw it over there. And I realized I had about 20 bags. So I give these for gifts, and they're really great because I will send a gift in one of these. And how cool is it to have, to not only get the gift, but also get to keep the bag? Let's get started, and I'll show you how easy this is to put together. Here we are at the table, and I've got everything cut out, stabilized, and just about ready to go. What we have here is two sizes of patterns. Now, the reason we have two is because the original pattern, which looks something like this, ends up making a bag that's a little smaller than I like. I'm a big guy and I have big things, so if I'm going to put them in a bag, the bag's got to at least be big enough for me. What I have found, though, is if you take the pattern, and again, this is from Nicole Barber over at OKSew. I will link to the pattern. It's a free pattern. I will link to that in the comments below, so take a look for that. Anyway, this pattern right here, I went ahead and printed two and taped them together. It really looks like this, and you can put this on the fold and cut it. Because I'm using vinyl, and sometimes that vinyl is thick, I can't really bend it into a fold. So I went ahead and printed a couple and finished it off like this. You'll see that I also used packing tape here. And the reason I used packing tape is if I'm on a piece of vinyl, I flip the vinyl over, I've marked it, or I'm marking it. But if I need it to stay in one place, I will take a little bit of painter's tape and tack that down here so that as I draw around the borders, because that's a straight line, I don't have to connect that, and it keeps it from sliding around. Anyway, so this is the pattern at 100%. It's a great little pattern, but I, again, like something bigger. So what I did is I went and I enlarged it to 125%. And that's what gets the size that I really like. And as I have shown before, this 100% pattern right here, if we're shooting at 100%, that one nests inside this one really well. And so for gifts, it makes a nice pairing. Anyway, so this is 125. I am also, this is a little, I know a little OCD, but I will go ahead and print this out again, tape it, and then I will go ahead and cut my seam allowance so that when I create, or when I go in and put my stabilizer on, this is what I'll cut out my stabilizer so that I can, I don't have to worry about cutting it down, and it saves time and it saves material. Because if you're using a Decoville Light, right here is what the seam allowance is. And I will be sewing into here, so whenever I flip that bag in, I'm not going to have all that, I'm not going to double that up in my seam allowance, and it's going to make it a lot easier to sew. I have, like I said earlier, have sewn more of these bags than I ever intended to because it is such a perfect little pattern. It has a graceful look to it, and it's just a couple pieces of fabric. Plus, if you are doing the original size or any size and you have strips of vinyl, you can cut it out this way and then join them here. So it also helps get a lot of the the leftover vinyls that aren't quite this broad, I can use this and piece them together. So this is also good for a directional pattern. If I had a pattern on my vinyl or quilting, cotton, whatever I'm using on my exterior, if I have an up and a down, I'm going to use this so that I can have both sides going up. And because I've done so many, I've done this. I've went ahead and cut my own template. This is a template, a plastic sheet that we sell here where you can cut out templates for, well, for bags and also templates for quilting. And I went a step further and did this. So that's my template right there. I will probably indulge in my OCD a little bit further and cut out another one for my stabilizer. But if you look here, I've got notches on the centers here because those are really the only two marks you need to make on your pattern. So going on from there, this is my exterior. I stabilized with Decovil Light. Now, if you've not worked with Decovil Light, you probably should, because it is, well, it's amazing. It's a very, very thin stabilizer, as you can see, but it has really good support. And when I go and turn this bag right side out at the end, I can go back and I can hit this with an iron, and all those wrinkles that I may have caused while I was turning the bag, those will come out, and you'll see that at the end. So I've got two. I've got my 125 and my 100%, and then I have my linings. Now, this is a canvas. I could probably get away with not stabilizing this, but this has such nice body that I want the interior to drape the same way. And what I've done here is cut out my stabilizer. This is just Palin SF101 Shape Flex, I think it stands for. Yeah, I think that's it. And did it on both. And when I go to put all this together again, this is going to roll over and I don't have to worry about all that stabilizer being in my seam. So we've got two exteriors, two lining pieces. I'm going to turn that up. By the way, this fabric totally came out of the blue. I just received a box one day, and it was from one of my best friends in high school, Darla. We explored a lot of Southern California together when we were first getting our driver's license. And she sent these, and with a card it said, hey, do whatever you want, make me something unique. And so here we go. But don't think that you can send me stuff just out of the blue and I'm going to be making a bag. This is a once only. I actually owe her probably something because I used to terrorize her when we were driving around in her mother's car. I was that guy. Anyway, so this will hopefully make up for it. We're going to be sewing this on the Janome HD9, which is a brilliant machine. It's one that I have, and I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And it's really nice to work with this Tech 70, or the thicker threads, because there's a lot of pre-tension, tension, and a couple different ways to thread it. We're going to be threading it with the much thicker way. The reason I brought two is I wanted to show you what my thought process was for picking the color. Now, we've got a lot of the dark browns in here, and that might work. And that was really where I started when I started planning this. But then I decided on this one. So we've got a lot of warm here in this exterior vinyl. But if you look, just that one there, when you go inside, you start to see some cooler tones. Not everything is brown. You've got all this kind of cool gray in here. And if you're familiar with any type of saddlery, you know that a lot of times they will use a contrasting color in the saddle, so it really features the stitch. And this is a very prominent thread, so it's going to be a prominent stitch. And so I decided to go here with the cool, because this will tie in my cooler tones with this. and stand out as a solid thread. So that's where we're going to go. Now this came from Wizardry Stitchery. It's a pretty amazing place for threads. This one, they have a lot of different threads titled after, I don't know, Harry Potter themed things. You've got a, one was called, what was it called? I Smell Children, yes, and it was really kind of creepy, like, you know, like the witch in the woods. This is called greige, which I think is a pretty great word. I don't think it really existed before this thread color, but this is greige. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go on from here. We're gonna need a zipper for each one. And now I did a couple different colors. The smaller zipper is going to be this kind of burgundy, and it picks up all that really great stuff in here. And then for the larger one, I went with the brown. And again, that's going to feature all this warmth in my exterior. You're going to need some zipper pulls. I think these are pretty amazing. So we're going to go, now the original pattern calls for 2 pulls on 1, and that's going to look something like this. So it's going to zip out from here. Now on the smaller one, I'm not going to put 2, I'm just going to put 1. I like when the larger bag has 2 because it pulls nicely and it handles really nicely. But on the smaller one, I think it might be a little much. So I'm going to have 1 for the inner, and on the larger bag, I'm going to have 2 that kind of go together. I don't necessarily want to match them. Plus, this also provides a ring. So when it's closed, or if you pull it all to one side, this can hang as well. So that's what we've got. Now to put the zippers in, this double stick tape. Double stick tape. One more time, double stick tape. The double stick tape is very important because we are going to be sewing curves. And when you are putting a zipper on a curve, it tends to freak people out. This one is very easy. We are going to double stick tape this to our zipper tape. Then we are going to baste that in. Then we're going to lay these right sides together with our exterior. And we're going to use the double stick tape again for that. Then we're going to sew. It's going to be inside of our seam line, so we're never going to come back to it. You're never going to see it, but this will keep it stable as you're doing that. And then, of course, my stiletto. You can use just about anything. I like this one. It's kind of small enough, but it gives me a little bit of handle here. By Annie makes a great stiletto. It's one of the best ones on the market. We sell that here, and if you are looking for a stiletto, I say go straight to the By Annie one. It's brilliant. So for now, what we're going to do is I'm going to start to assemble this zipper. We're going to take care of that. Then we'll go over to the machine. I'm not going to show everything on camera how I'm working this because there is a great tutorial out there right now. And the Nicole Barber, who designed this pattern, does a couple different ways to make this pattern. There is the vinyl where you're just binding the raw edges. There's a softer one with quilting cotton that is going to be turned inside out and no raw edges. We're doing the raw edge kind here, and we're going to be binding. Again, things that might scare people when they're getting into bag making. Obviously a curve, putting a zipper on a curve, and using binding to cover the raw edge. That tends to freak people out. This will show you that you don't need to be freaked out about it. It goes very easy. So I'm going to push some of this aside, and we're going to start to assemble. So we've got the exterior piece and the zipper tape. Right now we don't have our pulls on the tape yet. That will come later, and we have to make a few markings before we get started. One of the things that we have to do first is mark the center of our zippers. You can do that by just folding them in half. And I usually will do, that was clever, I usually do a little snip just so that we mark it. And you've got to do it on both sides because we are going to pull this zipper apart. And again, that also scares a lot of people. I'll show you. Nicole, who made this pattern, has a really great trick that on her video, and I'm going to pass this along, but I want to make sure that she gets the credit for this. And that is how we're going to put these zipper pulls on after pulling this apart. Normally you separate this and you put the pull on and then you just sew around it. We can't do that because we've got to do one here and here, and that won't break apart. So I've got the big one. We're gonna start with this guy, and we're gonna have 2 pulls on him. This is what she talks about doing. Go ahead and look at your zipper tape right there. And what you want to do, well, first of all, you need to burn that edge a little bit. And yeah, we're burned over here too. All right, so what you want to do is you want to look at that zipper, and whichever side has the top tooth, and it's going to be this side right here, take your scissors and notch the corner. And then you're probably going to want to seal that. Now come to the other side, look here, whoever has the top tooth, it's going to be this side. I'm going to notch that. So when you are going to put your zipper pulls on, you are going to put this side in just slightly first so that they meet up in the middle here. If you don't do that, those can shift and you're going to have a bulge that's kind of off center or kind of puckers on the wrong side. So we have our centers marked, we have our ends marked, and now this is the part that freaks everyone out. We're going to pull them apart. So this used to freak me out a lot because I never thought I would get it in. And we're going to come here to the double stick tape. We're gonna, where's the end? It's always a mystery when you start it. Ah, I felt it. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, oh, it's this side. Okay. There we go. I'm gonna put double stick tape all the way around here. And this is how I do it. This stuff is sticky. There we go. Very sticky. And I'm going to put it right along the edge all the way. Now you're going to have to kind of fuss with it a little bit to get around this curve because I don't want to notch it, but I do want to get it around there. All right. And yeah, see, that's not so bad. And take it all the way around. I've covered my notch right there, but you'll see something here. It's not really going to matter. I just need to kind of know where that's going to be. And now we're going to take it all the way down. And you can really just tear that off there. Okay, now this is the part that you got to be careful about. And if you do this, it's really simple to do. If you do it right, you're going to have a much easier time. You want to pull this, the paper off. And, all right, so this is where I have another trick. Aha. Along with everything that sits next to my sewing machine, I've got a pair of tweezers because these guys, these are like sausages and they don't do any they don't do anything delicately because of their size. So we're going to pull that off. And now you are going to start right sides to right sides, and I'm going to start in the center. Now I said that I had covered up my notch. Well, this is clear, so you can see the notch right under it. And all you have to do is hit that mark. Everything else falls in place. So I'm going to put that on, push that down. Now I'm going to bring this right along, and as I get to that curve, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to notch about every ½ inch for a while. And that's going to help me get around that curve. Zipper tape has a lot of bias stretch to it, so normally it will sit well around a curve, but I'm going to give it a little bit of help here. And so you're just going to move that slowly, and there we go. So it made it all the way around that curve. And yeah, I have a tendency to overcut my zippers because I don't like to get fenced in by having them too close. Same thing on this side. I'm going to just notch this, and I'm only cutting in about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Like I said, zipper tape has a lot of bias stretch to it. I mean, you can see that here. You know, it stretches, and by just putting those notches in, it allows me to get around that curve nicely. So, yeah. There we go. Around, and done. Now I'm going to, I don't want my tape to pull up, and it can, because you know you've got this curve here, so it's fighting to be straight. So I'm going to put Wonder clips on this just to hold it in place while I do this side here. You can see that I have clipped this. I have the double stick tape down under here. I'm going to do this one and clip these. I have done, as you saw, several of these, and I am not going to do an 1/8 inch basting stitch. I feel really comfortable with this pattern, so I'm going to go ahead and just sandwich the whole thing and run 1 stitch. You don't have to do that. You can baste, come back and tape, and then run it again. For me right now, I am going to just sandwich it all and run 1 stitch. So I'm going to put this down, and then we'll come back and I'm going to show you how I put the lining fabric in. Okay, so I have this taped, and clamped, so it's not going anywhere. The tape that I use, if you get a good double stick tape, it is not going to go anywhere. But because you've got this curve and it wants to pucker up, I keep that down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and sandwich these both so I can run one seam. So I'm going to pull these off, and for just long enough so that I can apply a second strip of double stick tape. And again, we're not sewing through the double stick tape. And if we were, it still wouldn't be a problem, because Oregon needles makes some really great non-stick needles, and it just keeps the sticky from balling up or getting all over your needle. But we're sewing this at slightly over 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, which means that we're going to be sewing inside where our tape is. And again, we got to get this around the corner. You just kind of pull it, bend it, pull it, bend it, and so I'm going to get right here, pull this off. Again, let's use tweezers. And come on, there we go. I'm going to pull the whole thing off here. And now we have marked the center here, but I want to make sure that I have the center here, so I know we're going in right together. And so I'm going to fold this in half, give me a little notch right there so I know exactly where we're going. And we're going to do it on this side too. Usually when I'm cutting all this out, I go ahead and do all my notches first, but I wanted to show you how this happens. So, and of course it's always a good thing to say if you forgot it, like, it's a learning experience. All right, so I'm going to begin putting this on, and I'm just following this around. You're going to get some bunching right here where that zipper is curling, or going along that curve, but I'm going to just finesse my fabric here and put it all down. Let's see. There we go. And come on. It wants to play around on me here. There we go. And now, if I did it correctly, yeah, they should meet up right down here. And before I go on to that other side, I am going to clip these off so it doesn't start to pull away from me. And This will just keep it in place. And that tape is strong enough so when I begin to sew, I can pop these off one by one and they're going to be great. Another thing that I do is when I'm doing this, I will take something like this and I will put it underneath one side. And what that does is it bows that forward and gives me a little bit more, a little less tension to deal with, a little less pulling. So, here we go. And all the way around the curve. This side is going much easier. Push that zipper down. Put my curve against my other curve. And there we go. Almost done. A little wrinkle there, but it doesn't matter. This is interior fabric. So, and there, it went ahead and worked itself out. Go ahead and clamp these. Again, I said this in my quilting video. Quilting, wow. I'm in my 50s and my voice is still changing. Let's see. So in my quilting video, I talked about Wonder Clips, and the reason I use Wonder Clips is because they're thicker, they hold better, and yeah, I don't like to play around. Besides, I'm really kind of rough on my supplies, and the Wonder Clips, the actual brand, are the only ones that have held up for me. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to do this again on the other side, and of course, this is when it really matters to prop that side up so that this is not pulling back. So I'm going to finish doing this, and then we're going to go over to the sewing machine and start to sew. I will see you over there, and well, I'll see you over there. We are at the sewing machine now. We are sewing today on the Janome HT9BE. There are two of these. There's the Janome HT9, which is white, and then we've got the HT9 Black Edition, which is what we have here. This is actually the machine I sew on at home. Anyway, this is probably going to be pretty much the closest thing you're going to find to an industrial machine without going the route of an industrial that has to be in a cabinet, has to have an oil pan, things like that. Those are amazing machines. They do so much so quickly, but I like the versatility of this one. This will go from a dead stop into, oh my gosh, 7 layers of leather without even thinking about it twice. So this should be a really easy thing for it. So I'm going to be working today with my stiletto. We're going to put that over there. I use that to guide through. And then I'm going to be sewing all this to start off with my zipper foot. Now, normally the HT9 comes with a quarter, or this is actually a quarter or a scant quarter. I also have the Teflon foot, so that when we do flip it on the other side and do our top stitching, this will help slide along that nicely. All right, so we also use this foot here, or I also use this foot here. This is a very, very, this foot is brilliant. I mean, you can do a scant 1/8 inch top stitch with this. I use this a lot. I use this, in fact, most of the time. Because I'm needing to get close into the zipper on one seam, I'm going to put this to the side, use my zipper foot, and we'll come back to that. So anyway, the machine is threaded so that it handles a Tex 70 thread, so it's very thick. You can't see it here. I might drop in a picture-in-picture of what this looks like. But you can see that there are 2 different ways to thread this. So this bottom way, that is for a thinner thread, like a 40 weight, and this one right up here, that is for like a Tex 70, or what you would consider would be an upholstery weight. But I like that upholstery thread because it gives the bag a little more hold, a little more strength, and it has a presence to it, so that when we do the top stitching, you're going to see that. All right, so I found my swatch of vinyl that I wanted to run my test on. You always want to run a test. You want to see how the fabrics slide against each other, or you want to see how the thread is going to bury itself in the vinyl, and if your tension is going to be correct. Now on the back here, these are my first 3 tension tests. I'm not sure if you can see this. Maybe I'll zoom in when I have this in editing, but you see these little light dots that are between each of the stitches. That is my top thread going down, and what that's telling me is that the bottom thread, or the top thread, is not, the tension is not high enough to be able to pull itself back up through the fabric, or to the middle of the fabric, against the bobbin thread. So the bobbin thread has a tension that's running, and the top thread has a tension that's running, and on that first one, where we see those little dots, that tension is not high enough, that's not tight enough on the upper thread to pull itself up. I changed my my thread tension here. On the second one, you see just a tiny bit of that gray, and then on the third one, we are clear all the way. So we got our tension test done. We know that this is going to run through this vinyl nicely, and now we're gonna sew the Logi bag. So we're gonna start right here. Now I'm going to line this up. Let me show you this first. So I'm gonna line this up. We're gonna try to get right up where we've got the 10 right here. Now most likely I'm going to stay right about there. I'm going to line it right up to the side of my zipper, and that should get me all the way around. Now I'll show you a couple things right here. Is this little bitty curve right here. This curve happens much faster than you expect. So once you hit that curve, you're going to be turning the bag. I'm going to be turning the bag faster than it looks. Usually curves, this is not a bad curve, but it is a quick curve. So we've got these really nice straight areas here, and then that really quick curve. So let's try that. Pull this out. I'm going to go ahead and take off my first pin, put this over here, not pin, clip, and I'm going to bring out my stiletto. We're going to bring her in. Come on. And we're going to line this up and drop my presser foot. You can see that the zipper teeth right here are poking up, and I could probably go in just a bit further. So why don't I do that? Okay, we're going to do that. Yeah, so we're going to be like staying right around this side of here. So anyway, I'm going to start. And I'm going to start with my needle down, because what I want to do is every time I stop as I'm going around, I want that needle to end down so I don't lose my spot. Here we go, and let's see what we got here. So we're going to start. There we go. Now I'm at a 3. I'm going to go to about 2.5 here. And here we go. Now, these are all going to come off pretty quick because, like I said, that curve is really going to happen fast. Now, when I'm going around a curve, I don't want to be watching my needle, because if I watch my needle, this gets off. So what I know that if I keep right across from this needle, if I keep that even with the edge of my canvas and vinyl, then we're going to keep a consistent stitch. If I watch that needle, right as we get in here, you're going to get off. So rarely when you're sewing do you watch the needle. You usually watch something that's before it or something alongside of it. Right now I'm going to watch right here. Let me pull this out. I'm going to go ahead and take that clip off, hold this in place. So there we go. Like I said, that curve happens pretty quick. And It's that last bit of curve that really kind of, you feel like it should be over, but it doesn't. And you got to swing it around at the end. But we got it. So now we're on the straight. Yeah, we're cooking now. I mean, at least we will be until we have to go back to that curve. All right, let's get prepared for that curve again. Let me go ahead and pull a few of these off so that we can get into the curve before I have to stop again. And here we go. And there's that quickness right there. And there we go. Now let me pull this off and we're going to finish this up. Got a little crooked there, but we'll be fine. All right, so we're going to hit this with some pinking shears before we turn it up, and that will work itself out. So let's do the other side, and I'm going to turn this in, let this kind of fold over, and let's do this one, and then we will talk about notching or trimming that corner and turning out. All right. So I went and I used my pinking shears to take down the bulk on that curve. Like I said before, you can notch this, but what I find, unless you're really, really accurate at notching it at the exact right intervals, and you've cut them all just like they're supposed to, when you flip that inside out, you get bulk all along it, and it's kind of sporadic bulk, so it does end up showing. With the pinking shears, turning this works so much better. Now, if you don't know what pinking shears are, they're these guys right here. They look like, I don't know, it looks like an alligator to me. But by doing this, you're reducing bulk, but also it stops fraying as well. So if you don't have a pair of these, get a good pair, because you are going to be cutting through vinyl and stuff with these, but they work fantastic. So now we have got to turn this guy inside out. And best to just reach through. Oops. And grab this all and take some time doing it. You don't have to. You want to be somewhat gentle because you don't want to cause any permanent creases that it's going to be difficult to press out. But this Decoville Light and the SF101, they give, besides giving more body to the fabric itself, it keeps them from stretching and moving outside of it. Now you can see just quickly here, this turned out really nice, really nice. So even without pulling out my seams yet, you can see that we've got a really nice curve there. Let's come to the other side. See, it's going to look like this, but then, boom, you pop that out, and that looks very nice. It's a nice pull and nice pull. Now, as I am sewing that top stitch, I'm going to be pulling this zipper out so we get a nice, really nice space there. All right, so let me change my presser foot. So now I'm done with my zipper foot. I may need it at the end when I'm sewing up the ends of my boxing, but right now I think I'm okay. So I'm going to take this one off, but we're going to go ahead and put the Teflon foot on. Now the HD9 does not come with the Teflon foot. It doesn't come with the zipper foot either. You're going to find that on the straight stitch machines, they don't come with lots of feet, because all the other feet that you would get in a sewing machine would require some sort of zigzag because this is straight stitch. You're not doing a lot of different stuff. You're just doing the same stuff different things. So, okay, so now you could go through and you could press this. Now this is vinyl, so you wouldn't want to put your iron right up against this. What I do is if I'm going to press this to get this smoother, I take a pressing cloth. Usually it is a single piece of muslin. If I need to double that up, I can do that. So I'll put it on top and press it. There are a couple ways that you can get this out even further. If you wanted to take a hairdryer and go along this and heat this up, that works nicely. Or you can press this, like I said, with an iron with a pressing cloth on top of it. For this one, it's a fairly pliable vinyl, so I can pull that out. I'll pull against my teeth right here, but on my top stitch, I'm going to use my presser foot and I'm going to run this piece, this edge, right in between there. Like right, I'm going to center it in there. What you'll find is the better you get at top stitching, the narrowing the better you get at top stitching, you will be sewing top stitching that's quite narrow to the edge, which looks better. So when you start out, you tend to sew a really wide top stitch coming through here. I like it probably about 1/8 of an inch. So let's try that. Top stitching also, whenever you're top stitching, you're gonna kick your stitch length way up, especially on vinyl or cork. Because if you are doing a very, very short stitch as you are sewing along, you are just doing a great job of perforating that vinyl, and it is gonna pull off just like a movie ticket, you know, just rip right in half. So space the top stitching out a little bit more, and you're going to be safer. So let's start on this. Again, like I said, I'm going to pull on my teeth and make sure everything lines up. Now, we get right there. Now, normally you don't have to really go back and forth to start that, because the edge of your, this edge is going to be sewn in under here. So your top stitching, you don't have to anchor. Sometimes I will. I'm going to go ahead and start with my needle down. Sometimes I will. It just depends. Maybe I'll do just a short one on here. There we go. So let's go forward. Okay, but like I said, that's going to get closed up anyway. So go ahead and open up this seam just a little bit. And now, because you have a longer top stitch, that fabric's going to move under your needle a lot faster. And like I said before, this curve happens pretty fast. So you've got to be prepared for that. Just don't let it get away from you. Okay. Make sure it's all pulled out, and I'm going to try to kind of get that in kind of a one maneuver. We'll see. It's not my best top stitching, but it's also not my worst. So it's a little difficult with the camera between me and my project. But, you know, boo-hoo for me. Again, I'd love to know what it is that got you into bag making. We have a lovely person here that teaches bag classes. Her name's Adrian, and when I asked her about it, she said that she at heart was always a bag lady. So, you know, that's her thing. My thing, like I said, was I did not fit into my old clothes anymore. And when you're a size like me, you're making a shirt, you are going to be using a lot of fabric. I decided I didn't want to do that. Not right now. I am getting back into sewing for myself. You know, part of that is getting comfortable with a bigger body. You know, I have been trying to work on my weight, and it's been going well, but it is a slow process. And if you believe that, if you also understand that, please Tell us in the comments. What are you doing to become, I don't know, more at ease with your body? Mine is taking it slow. I've been doing a lot of walking lately. All right. Okay, so let's bring that up and see what we got. Let me pull this out, cut my threads, and so we've got a nice curve. It's not my best. You see here, right here. So my top stitch got away from me a little bit. It went a little bit over. Really where I like my top stitching to stay is right about there. Right about that nice eighth of an inch. But even though I didn't get my stitch exactly right, look at that beautiful curve. That is a really consistent curve. Really nice. This one, even better. And that it comes from that, from the peaking shears. So, you know, they're pretty cool. Yes? What do y'all think? All right, I'm going to do this second one, and then we're going to start getting some shape to this bag. Nope, one more. There we go. All right. See? I am. All right, now the key is we want to see if these are going to zip up without a little buckle right here, without that little bit of bulge. So zip this up and zip this side up. I think we're done with our fork. And let's see. Ah, perfect. So, okay, we're back. And I think, of course, you'll know at this point, I may have just done that whole zipper pull with no audio. So I'm sure I had a very lovely voiceover, and let's keep going. So, all right, so here's our bag. What we're gonna need to do is box these corners right here. It's really easy. Anytime that you're boxing a corner, you're going to get a very prominent, we're gonna go right here, get that in the middle. I wanna get my zipper right in the middle there. And now I am going to use a couple clips just to keep those in place right there. And let's get another one over here. All right. Okay. There, right there. Now I will also usually put a clip right here and here to keep that nice and flat. So you want to make sure you pull that angle all the way out, and that angle should match on both sides. So we've got the same type of angle coming off of that. All right, let me back this up right there. So you see that. Now all I'm going to do is sew straight across here. I can cut off my zipper at any point, but since I have these pretty much matched, and I can go straight across. Now the HD9 is going to have absolutely no issues with sewing over that zipper. I'm using a nylon zipper. The teeth are nylon, so you can sew right over them. They're not going to hurt your sewing machine. You can cut them out with your scissors. They're not going to, well, they're not necessarily going to dull your scissors, but your scissors are going to be easy to go through. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple clips over here so that we keep that. Okay, so I just did a little earthquake shake there. And again, we're going to pull that out. And there we go. So I'm just going to sew right across there. I'm going to sew just about, let's see, what do I want to sew on this? I'm going to sew about 5/8 of an inch. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm going to sew right across here. I'm going to do probably about 5/8 of an inch, ½ inch, right in there. It just as long as you keep it consistent on both sides, it's not going to do anything to the pattern. I'm going to run it right along this guy here. And you know what? Yeah, we're just going to keep the Teflon foot on. It's a really nice foot. So we're going to keep it. Let me put this right over here. And so let me go ahead and pull my clip off and just go ahead and get myself situated. Let me drop my needle. And this one is going to run pretty fast. It's just a straight seam. Yes, I'm going to reinforce it on both ends. So go forward. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull that off because I'm going to go right over that pretty quick. And so you saw that did not struggle in the least going over that zipper. A straight stitch machine, if that's what you're working on, they're amazing. I mean, they're absolutely amazing. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this one more time. Generally, on something, and this is going to get a lot of stress because when we flip this back out after putting the binding on here, there's going to be a lot of stress on that seam. So I'm going to go right. I'm going to go right to the left of it. Normally, I'll set a seam and then I'll go right to the right. Because this is such a narrow seam, I want to go ahead and go to the left for this seam. And we're just going to go right across it. Make sure you all right, let's see what we got here. All right, that looks great. Let's go ahead and cut this. I keep hitting this bar and it's making me crazy, but this is coming off very nice. Lots of threads here. I don't even know where they're coming from. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and keep it clamped because we still have to cut the binding and sew it on. Now, the binding going on is just as easy as this. You'll see here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and go over a little bit more. So there we go. And we're good to go here. Make sure our presser foot's down. Okay. Pull this out. And I guess I don't have to cut every time, but that's how I do it. All right. And I'm going to sew another seam over it. And this I'm going to go right to the right of it. And all right, so I've cut off the zipper and I'm ready to put on my binding. I am just taking a couple pieces of vinyl that matches the outside. You can bind with the fabric that's inside too. I just think, you know, this, you'll see later, it gets tucked in so tight here, you really don't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this binding in half. Sometimes I will do it and let it sit for a while so that that crease is on there. And now I'm going to put this binding right here, and it's just going to go right over. I'm not going to worry about where it starts and stops on either side because, like I said, this is going to be put in a very tight spot that you're never going to really see or appreciate. So let me put a couple of clips on and one more. All right, let's try that. All right, hopefully this works better over here. And hopefully we're going to get to the end and not have it mess up like the other side did. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got it. And let me cut my threads. We're going to end right here on this one. So here we've got that covered. And now we're just going to trim these corners. Again, those corners are going to be wrapped in when this gets flipped inside out. We are at the point now where we get to turn this inside out. You can see that the binding here is attached. Binding here. I trimmed those corners. It doesn't matter. It's a rough trim is fine. These are going to get rolled into this on the inside, and you're never going to see that. So let me open up my zippers a little bit. And this is what I love about this bag, because it's just a couple of seams and a couple zippers, but when you turn it inside out, it is just a simple, graceful bag. So we're going to pop those corners out. I'm going to pull my zipper up just a little bit and pop that out. There we go. Push our corners in. There we go. Let's get the other side as well. And push in those corners. And just on a first glance, now we have manhandled this bag nicely. I mean, we have. And it is keeping its shape because of that Deco Veil light. I mean, it's quite impressive. So this is the larger of the two. This is the 125. There is a 100% the size that you can download from her site. I'm going to finish that out, put these together. But I mean, look at that. That is such an easy bag, so easy. Yeah, we'll take a look at all of it here in a second. So here is the finished project. So we've got it finished. I've got two pulls on the top. Like I said about nesting, I've got the smaller bag inside. Now, I only went with one zipper pull on the inside and then two zipper pulls on the outer. I also did a zipper pull with a loop, so when you close it on one side, you can hang that. I don't think it's all that strong, but you can hang that. So, yeah, that came together really, really easily, you saw. And now I am going to put this in the mail to my friend Darla in Sedona. So she's got a surprise coming. So the real star of this is the HD9BE. Now the BE stands for Black Edition because you can see it's black. It's super cool. It's just, the powder coating is really tough because if you're doing bags, you're using a lot of zippers. And zippers will scratch this base right here. It's just the nature of, you know, metal on metal, but it doesn't really affect the powder coating here. I did use a couple different feet. It comes with a 1/4 inch foot. I used the Teflon foot. I used the zipper foot, because zippers. And the one I used most, or the one I use most all the time, is this narrow straight stitch foot. That thing right there is just 1/8 of an inch on either side, and it is so small that when it's dragging across the vinyl, it doesn't even stick because the surface tension is so minimal that it just glides right over it. The Black Edition does come with an extension table. I used that yesterday. I always work with an extension table. It's really great. It will come with the 1/4 inch foot. It doesn't come with these feet here. The zipper foot and the Teflon foot come in the leather kit. It's not that expensive. You get that, you get another leather wheel presser foot, some nice stuff in there. Yeah, this thing is fantastic. It allows me to do this. So I guess that's it. I'm Sean from Sewing and Vacuum Warehouse in Houston, and remember that at the sewing table, there is always room for everyone. I'll see you next time.
Oh, hey guys, it's me again. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and help us out with that YouTube algorithm and drop us a like below. We're posting videos like this weekly, so subscribe and don't miss a thing. We're constantly looking for new topics to cover, so if you have something you're curious about, go ahead and leave a comment below. Thank you. We'll see you next time.